Yo, what's good, boys? We are back at it again with another MLB The Show 25 video for you guys, and today we are going to be updating our infielders tier list for you guys. So Weekend Classic is coming up in I think 6 days, as well as we are at the end of this current ranked split, so you've got a little bit longer to try to climb rank and get those World Series rewards or whatever you're going for. So I feel like now is a pretty good time to go ahead and update the infielders for you guys. That Discord channel has been added, so if you're not already in the Discord and want to join, link is down in the description. We got team review coming up soon. That's long overdue. And then I'm gonna do that like community thoughts, hot takes, whatever you want to call it, video pretty soon as well. So if you want to be in that, link is down in the description for the Discord. And let's go ahead and hop into it. So starting off, we've got our catchers. Gary Sanchez, statistically perfect, has basically no quirks, which is a little bit unfortunate, but stats wise is actually one of the best catchers we've ever gotten in MLB The Show history. If you want to talk about him being a righty as a negative, you could. It's really only a legend. I feel like it's still annoying on Hall of Fame to have to deal with the way sliders, especially since a lot of pitchers have 120 hits, 125 clutch at this point. So it's still a little bit annoying, but I think you can live with it. I think on legends, probably where you'd rather have a switch hitting catcher. Carter Jensen, haven't used him, looks average. If his swing's really good, maybe that plays him up a tier. If it's mid, he probably stays in B. If it's bad, he's in C tier. It's just 30K for a catcher that statistically isn't really impressive. So Posada, easy S tier, still probably the best hitter in my lineup. He will be in my lineup for the rest of the year. He is just goated. He's absolutely insane. I think he's got one of the best switch hitting swings in the game. I don't know if it's necessarily the best swing, but for a switch hitter, it plays. Every card of his I've used for the entire year has been insane. This one's no different. Stats wise, he's almost perfect. It's just the defense isn't crazy. Maybe you'd rather DH him or something. I don't have a DH tier for this one. Napoli, I would avoid at this point. I hate his swing. I think he's max against lefties. I think he's mediocre against righties. I would just avoid him at this point. I think we might skip around a little bit, honestly. Ted Simmons, A tier. I don't hate it. It's just a low power catcher. That's really his only downside. I don't love his swing. I haven't loved it all year. But there's enough people that really enjoy him, and he's relatively cheap. Obviously, like a max contact guy with really good quirks. It's just I don't like the swing. I don't love the power. And the defense isn't all that. Adley, I think he goes in that tier as well. Not my favorite swing. He's also a push hitter against one side. So just not a lot going for him. His quirks aren't that great. I don't think his swing is the craziest thing in the world either. So he's just a solid enough catcher, nothing special. Kyle Teal, lefty, not the lefty I would be running personally at this point. I think if you want to run lefty catchers, there's just better alternatives. Shea Langlier's fan favorite, B tier, super mid. I think his clutch is good. I think he's really good against one side, but not the other. So it's just not my favorite card in the world. I get there's a subsection of people that really enjoy him. For me, I'd way rather just use like Gary, or I think there's one other righty catcher I'd rather use. Josh Gibson. Yeah, I'd probably rather use Josh Gibson other than the bat sound effect. I think his swing's just better. And stats-wise, he's just a little bit better. O'Hoppe, pretty much the same as Mike Napoli, so unfortunate for the Angels that they have basically two of the exact same catcher. Cat Raleigh. What am I even doing? I mean, I think it's kind of tough. If you really value catcher defense, maybe he's not S tier for you, but I've seen him throw enough people out and not be the worst thing in the world behind the plate. And for the people that use him, he's usually the best hitter in their lineup. So I think he stays in S tier for now. Maybe, I mean, we'll definitely get another 99 rally. I think he might not have max out hits. It might be like 120, 120, and you have to parallel him to get him to 125. But I think we'll get a rally with better defense at some point. Salvi, similar to the other Royals catcher, actually. I can vouch for his swing. It's like a top tier swing. I love Salvi's swing. It's just he never really gets super relevant cards, and this one's more or less along those lines, where his stats just kind of suck. It's kind of weird. He's like max against righties, and then pretty pedestrian against lefties, if I remember right. And then defensively, he's just not good because he's not at that point of his career anymore. So unfortunate card there. Pudge. Never have enjoyed a Pudge card. I'd way rather use Langoliers has a better swing than him. Perez has a better swing. I would think this Carter Jensen has a better swing. Him versus Kyle Teal's kind of dependent on how much you hate batting same-handedness, but Joey M's A tier. Again, I wouldn't be running a lefty catcher at this point, but if I was going to run one, it would be Joe Mauer. So I think he is the best lefty catcher in the game by far. Always really enjoy Joe Mauer cards, even if they don't have crazy power. So honestly, maybe he should be S tier. I think what kind of tears it for me is his quirks aren't even that crazy. So I think that kind of hurts him a little bit. Real Muto, I think he's just got B tier plastered all over him. Cool card, is what is. I think his swing's a little worse than it has been in the past. The stats on this card aren't anything insane. I think the defense isn't even crazy, so not one of my favorite cards of the year. Francisco Alvarez, genuinely despise his swing. Every time I've ever used his cards, I don't enjoy them. If I was still running Mets at this point, I just wouldn't run him. I think there's just so many better catcher options. Is Mackey, pretty solid card here. Is he S tier? I'm gonna say no, just because of the power. He's kind of the opposite of Cal Raleigh, where if you actually value catcher defense, which I do a little bit, but not to just take a guy like him over Cal Raleigh. If you've just got slots in your lineup, you know, and you DH Raleigh and catch Biz, then you got both. But for me, I'd rather run Posada. I'd probably rather run Gary Sanchez. It'd be pretty close. But I'd probably rather run Sanchez. I think I would definitely rather run Cal Raleigh. Maybe that's crazy, but me personally, I think Biz is pretty overrated. He's all right, and if you got him during the flash sale, then he wasn't the worst buy in the world. But PB, I would rather run Patrick Bailey over him. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give Patrick Bailey S tier personally. I think this is a pretty slept on card. He's not the cheapest in the world. I think he's like 35, 50K, something like that. But his swing's genuinely incredible. He's got max out clutch. The normal hitting stats aren't crazy. I think he's at like 110 contact, 110 power. He might have like 120 against one side. The fielding stats aren't insane for him, but he does have pop time with high arm. So it kind of plays. So I enjoy Patrick Bailey. I would rather run Patrick Bailey than Biz Mackey. They're just two switch-hitting catchers that don't have quirks and are good defensively. I'd rather take the guy with the better swing, and for my money, that's Patrick Bailey. Maybe if you like vision, maybe that would, you know, skew it to Biz Mackey, but I believe that is our catchers done. No, Mike Piazza. Yeah, for sure. Piazza A tier. Kind of what I was hinting to earlier with like Langoliers. If I wanted a righty, I'd run Josh Gibson. I'd run Mike Piazza. I'd run one of those over a guy like Langoliers just because Piazza's got max hitting stats and he's got like every single quirk in the game. All right, so I think we're gonna skip around to shortstop, so I don't have to sit here and scroll up so much every time. Willie Castro. This is a rough card because you could put him anywhere. You could put him short, you could put him second, you could put him at third. I'm gonna rank him as a shortstop. I think short or second is probably his best spot, just because I think at third everybody's running the same person. He's probably like B tier at this point, where he's not the craziest card in the world. I think he still has max clutch. I still think he's max against lefties, if I'm thinking about that right. And then he's like a mediocre fielder with still good arm strength. So I think he plays at shortstop. I have had him mishandle balls at shortstop and cause errors and cause runs to come across because of that. So I think I'm going to dock him for that. Plus, he just hasn't been as good as like the Chase Carter one at the start of the year. So Ellie, in my opinion, still A tier. He's still kind of my default. Where if I'm trying out a new shortstop and I don't like him, I just go back to Ellie. Have not really found a shortstop that I personally like more than Ellie, but I'm not gonna let my personal bias completely take over and put him in S tier because I don't think he would be S tier for that many people. You gotta really like the swing, but I think the reaction's kind of fake because of how tall he is and the 99 arm. Still haven't really found a better defensive shortstop than Ellie. I can only wait for like a finest or whatever he ends up getting. I think the Reds are close to the playoffs, so hopefully they can make the playoffs and we get an Ellie that way. This Lindor, very similar to like Willie Castro, I feel like. Stats wise, not gonna like blow your socks off or anything. And he's a little short, so he's not gonna play the craziest shortstop defense in the world, but he's got a swing that people love. And if you still have him in your lineup, you probably mash with him. So preaching to the choir there. I just think the defense leaves quite a bit to be desired. Ozzy. For me, Ozzy's A tier. Some people really enjoy this card. I think his swing is not all that. His hitting stats are pretty good. His defense needs improvement. I think if you can superfractor him and get him to where he has like 90 shield and higher reaction. He does have a laser beam. I will say that his arm kind of stood out to me quite a bit for the games I used him, but just wasn't super comfortable at bat with him for whatever reason. He also has like virtually no quirks, which is weird because usually I feel like he does have a lot of quirks, but he's still a really solid option. Nothing wrong with being an A. All right, so we got Zach Neto. This is one of those cards where you kind of look at it and wonder how it's a 99 overall. His swing's usually pretty good. So if you absolutely love his swing, or if you're just like an all-star player at this point in the year, I'm sure you can play, but it's just not really like a 99 overall card. Barry Larkin, C tier. I love Barry Larkin. I think he's got one of the most slept on swings in the game. He's got every hitting quirk. If you could DH him, he's probably closer to S tier. But he has to play the field, and he has very bad fielding stats. So I'm going to knock him. Shortstop is a premium defensive position. You need one of your better fielders there, and he is not going to give you that. Robin Yount. If your power starts with a 7, you're not going to be ranked highly at this point in the year. Gunner, cool, whatever. Probably C tier. Would not want to play him over guys like Lindor or Willie Castro at this point, just for their switch hitting ability. He's not the worst card in the world. It's just shortstop's a super loaded position. Like you have Ozzy and Ellie in A tier, and then Lindor and Castro in B tier. Like he's got to be below that because you're not running him over any of those guys. A switch hitter who is more his speed is Eli. I did not enjoy his swing personally when I used him. He's not the craziest fielder in the world. He doesn't have a ton of pop. I think he might actually be an opposite field hitter at some point or something like that. I think he's a contact hitter is what it is. So just not my favorite card in the world there. Luis Aparicio. Haven't really used him, but he looks pretty solid. I think just C tier because usually he doesn't have the best swing in the world. He's also a righty at a position that just has a million switch hitters. Ian Desmond. Probably B tier. Because when I used him, I did not enjoy his swing. I didn't even queue up ranked with him because I could kind of tell I wasn't going to enjoy his swing. But on paper, I wouldn't be shocked if that is the highest shortstop in the game. Let's see. Let's see if we can check this. True overall. And let's filter by position, shortstop. So they have Ozzy, Honus Wagner, Bryce Terang, Mookie, Nando. So he's like the 6th highest overall shortstop in their opinion. Or that's a DH actually. Let's see shortstop. So he's like 8th somehow. I don't really know how that makes sense because I feel like his fielding's really good. The only bad thing I can say about this card is I don't think his swing's awesome and he's not switch hitter, but other than that, it's an awesome card. So I'm shocked they don't rank him higher than that, because he's got every single quirk in the game as well. So if you really enjoy the card, he could be awesome for you. Do not mind him at all. Rollins, I think, is A tier. My guy, I have to rank at least one shortstop S tier. Yeah, I think we're gonna get a bump here in a minute, but I would not put Rollins S tier. I know he's super expensive. I know a lot of people feel like they need to justify his price. To me, he is no different than Ozzie Smith, no different than Ellie. So if I gotta put them all in S tier, I will. But I've been riding that train for a while, where I don't really see the hype. I view him and Ellie as pretty similar, except Ellie's actually taller. So in certain instances, as long as he doesn't get bad reaction, he's actually gonna play better defense. So I've never loved Jimmy Rollins. When I used him, he hit really good, and I own him at this point in the year because there's no more chase cards, but not my favorite. Volpe F tier. This is another card where you look at him and you kind of get to thinking, and you're like, how is this a 9 overall card? He fits that description. Leo DeVry, I would put similar to Lindor at this point. It's just a switch hitter with a swing that I don't really vibe with. His stats aren't crazy. Some people ride or die with him, and they think he's the bee's knees. For me, if you told me him or Lindor, I think Lindor's got better swing. I think Lindor has way better quirks, so you're just going to get better results with him. I think the only thing DeVries would have him beat in is fielding. So Willy Adames, probably C tier at this point. He's pretty perfect other than speed, so he might not get to some of those like squib hits straight up the middle or balls that the third baseman has to dive for and the shortstop should back up, stuff like that. But if you enjoy his swing, you can still use him. It's not the worst card in the world. Perdomo, E tier. For me, he's just not a shortstop. I'd way rather run him at third base. I don't think he has the defense to be a shortstop. Personally, I think he's way more like a Lindor, where with Lindor, you're kind of taking a big hit because you're either playing him out of position at second or out of position at third. At least with Perdomo, you can run him in a backup. You can run him at secondary of third base, and you don't really lose anything. Weatherholt, cool card. I'll just C tier. He lacks power. His swing's nice, so there's a reason to use him. If you're a Cardinals fan, there's a reason. Really enjoyed his swing. It's just shortstop is probably one of the more stacked positions in the game. There's a million better options. Cole Emerson, kind of a similar victim to that, except I feel like he's close to being one of those 9-9s where you look at him and you don't know how they're 9-9, and swing didn't really stand out to me when I used him. His stats are just all mid. It's like 105 everything hitting. So I'd rather just use Weatherholt, somebody with a better swing, if I was going to use a lefty shortstop. Jesus. Ooh. I'm not a Jesus truther, honestly. When I've used him, it's been sparingly. Somehow he hasn't really cracked the lineup. But that's because I think Ellie is just better than him. For some people, that'll be crazy to say. But I feel like all four of these shortstops are extremely similar, and if you use all of them, you'll find one that you like. For me, performance-wise, I'm probably best with either Rollins or Cruz, but I'm sure there's tons of people out there that hit really good with Ozzie, really good with Jesus. So, two pretty good options there. Jeter, top of B tier, another righty shortstop, or if you want to use him, he's got every single quirk in the game, I believe. He's got an elite righty swing, and he's got max contact. It's just the power is kind of lackluster. The defense isn't awesome until you put some parallels on him. But after you do that, I think he's pretty good. McGonigal, D tier, very mid, super mid. Honestly, he's probably F tier. He's a short. I believe he's short. He looks short. I'm not sure. But I believe he's a short, not great defensive, not great hitting, power-wise shortstop. So just not really a great archetype for a card. Tatis, the only righty that I feel comfortable putting with these guys. We might not have an S tier shortstop. It might just all be opinion based. I think it's just all opinion based. I view all of these guys as incredibly similar to one another until Ellie gets like a 99 overall card. I don't know if I can really put any of these guys over one another. Connor Griffin, C tier, he's just better as an outfielder where you can use the 99 speed more because he's not an awesome hitter. His swing is not amazing. So I think just C tier is pretty safe for him. Honus, same story. Better contact, worse power, same kind of story. Speedy guy would be better in a secondary of like center field. Allen, D tier, no power. Has a good swing, has okay quirks, I believe, but just no power. You don't have power, you're not playing at this point. Ethan Holiday, you know, a lot of people's, I think, biggest cope card of the year because they locked in for the draft collection, and almost all the cards in there were not very good, and they gaslit themselves into running Ethan Holiday, who is statistically the same, if not worse, than Gunnar Henderson. So for me, I'd way rather use Gunnar than him, but I'll give him C tier. Xavier Edwards, C tier. Unfortunate. Defensively, this card is shambolic. He is really bad. If you want to go through the process of super fracturing him, then you know you can get him to a silver shield, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but for a shortstop, it kind of is. So if you want to super fracture him and then run him like out of the position at second base, or definitely DH, I would think would be the move for this card at this point in the year. He's really good. He's high vision, high contact. The power isn't abysmal, and he's pretty fast. So as a DH, he's one of your better options in the game for the most part. But as an actual shortstop, a position where defense is very important, not somebody I would be looking to run. All right, and that starts our third baseman. So I guess we're just not going to have a S tier shortstop, which it adds up. Because I think if you're running any of these guys, they are top of the meta. They are extremely good, but I don't think any of them. Ozzy's the closest to a perfect card. I don't like his swing, and he has basically no quirks. So I think we're kind of in the waiting lobby for a 99 Ellie at this point. Caminero, C tier. He's like the third base version of Xavier Edwards, where hitting wise, he's almost perfect. He's not switch hitter like Xavier Edwards is, but he's got like max contact, max power, max clutch, really good swing. I think he's got some okay quirks if I remember right. More of a DH though, but you can get away with it more at third base. Troy Gloss, D tier. His clutch stinks, honestly. Stats wise in general, he's not the best card in the world, and his clutch isn't good. So let's see. Dick Allen, definition of like an A tier third baseman. Nothing wrong with him. I don't hate you if you're running Dick Allen at third base. He's a little short, so he might not play the craziest third base defense in the world. But you're not really running your third baseman for defense, or else we'd all have Manny Machado out there. KB, solid B tier, I guess. He's all right. He's not terrible. I wouldn't run him personally. I think there's way better third basemen, but he's not terrible. J-Ram, B tier, super dated at this point. The power is just kind of bad. Even the contact's not that awesome at this point. You're using him for the swing. You're using him for the crazy quirks. He'll get a card. Obviously, it's J-Ram. But getting kind of dated at this point. Edgar, F tier? When this card came out, he wasn't the worst thing in the world. Now he's like a pure DH because he's a bad fielding, not good power hitting third baseman. Where we're getting righties like Austin Riley in the new multiplayer program that pretty much are perfect. So he's not really stacking up to him. Vientos, feel like D tier. Swings, some people really like his swing. I think it's like an average to slightly above average righty swing. But even then, his stats just aren't that great. You kind of need to run him on like the Mets team if you're actually going to run him. Moose, C tier, sucks. Because he should be really good, honestly. He should be really solid. I am forgetting one now. We gotta add Alex Gordon to the list. Maybe he is on the list. Maybe shows on Strolling. We'll see. But I wish he had second base because he would be a way better second baseman. I think DH would be his best spot. If you know MLB The Show, you know Moose always has a really nice lefty swing. But you know, like I said, third base is also kind of a tough spot. Yeah, Austin Riley's probably A tier. I don't think his quirks are anything insane, but stats wise, this is pretty much a perfect card. I think he lacks a little bit of power against one side, if I remember right. 116, 125, 100, 120. So after you add some parallels, pretty much a perfect card other than power left. So if you're waiting for a good Austin Riley, here you go. Nothing wrong with running him. I don't see anybody running him for some reason, but that's probably because there's just a million switch hitters that you could be running instead. Correa, probably B tier. I think he's a pretty slept on card. I think this card was kind of the end of the power curve, because when he came out, like this was basically like a perfect card. Like in other years, this is what our 99 finest cards would look like. 125, 117, 110, 115, 120 clutch, maxed out fielding with 76 speed. So, again, nothing wrong with running him at this point, but I think there's slightly better stats wise cards that you could be running, which is not Paul Molitor. I don't think he's F tier. I think he's D tier because I think there is some redeeming factors to him. Like his swing's really, really good. He's got good quirks most of the time. So there's some redeeming factors. But Scott Rowland, this is a card I wouldn't be running anymore. Not gonna lie, I would way rather run Junior Caminero at third base than Scott Rowland. Another card that people seem to like gaslight themselves into thinking was better than what he was. Eugenio Suarez, cool, C tier. He's kind of like the third base version of like Mike Napoli, kinda, or maybe not Napoli, but one of those cards like Langleyers, kind of, where really good against one side and then the clutch is maxed, but he's got pretty poor contact against the other side. So it kind of offsets the card a little bit. I do not like his slap swing. There's very few slap swings that I ever like historically. He is not one of them. In years past, he has been. I don't know what they really did to it this year. Don't love it. Chipper, our next S tier inclusion. He is an absolute dog. He is insane. He is pretty much perfect, honestly. I was going to pull that up. If you haven't seen this Chipper, or if you didn't snag him during the flash sale, you kind of trolled, because he's the #1 ranked card in the game. Shocker. He's up to 322. I think you got him during the flash sale at like 230. So, pretty good little come up there. 125, 125, 117, 125, 125. Diamond defense at third base for Chipper Jones with 79 speed. I mean, it's probably the best Chipper we've ever gotten. He's an absolute animal. He's insane. Chase Headley. Yeah, I mean, he's A tier. I don't see anybody using him, because a lot of people don't love his swing. He's also only got like half the quirks you want. He only has like dead red or breaking ball, not both. So there's room for improvement with him, but it's not a bad card by any means. Unlike Adrian Beltre, who stats-wise looks really good. I think he lacks a little bit of power. Quirks-wise, he's basically perfect, which is good news, because his swing is terrible. So he kind of needs something to go his way. He's almost like third base Willie Mays, where, you know, if you really want to run him, you can, and I'm sure he'll be good for some people. But if you actually know how to use swings to help you, and know what a good swing is, apart from a bad swing, you're probably going to hate him. Ryan McMahon. E tier, I guess. I don't really know why you'd be running him at this point. Stats wise, he doesn't really hold up anymore other than defense. And then it's a lefty. So always kind of gets a little bit of a knock there. Marcelo has a really nice swing. I view him as basically like the lefty version of like Correa or like Chris Bryant. So I'll give it to him. Bautista, A tier. You gotta really love the swing, and I don't know a lot of people that really love the swing, but he is a pull hitter. He's got every single quirk in the game, and stats wise, he's pretty much perfect. I've also seen him play a really good third base when people are crazy enough to play him there. It's just, why would you? Because there's a million other better options, but he's in the running. Like, he's pretty solid. There's nothing wrong with the card. Ryan Zimmerman. B tier is as high as I'm going to go without using the card. I don't remember if I bought him to lock in for Zobrist or not, but if I did, I need to use him because I always remember enjoying his cards in older MLB The Shows and MLB 2K and stuff, but have not used him yet. Stats-wise, he's very similar to David Wright, who is right here. And I think that's where I would put Wright. I don't like his swing. If I'm going to use a righty third baseman, I'd way rather run Jose Bautista than David Wright. Maybe that's crazy, but I have absolutely hated David Wright's swing for the last few years. George Brett, B tier, just lacks power. He just doesn't really have the power to match up with a lot of these other guys. And, you know, when you get him early in the year, like we did with the Retro Finest forever ago, it doesn't really stand out because he's ahead of the curve. Nowadays, it's not awesome. His swing's really good, and he's got a lot of good quirks, and his contact is good, his clutch is good, so you're going to have a big PCI. If you love him, cool. During the flash sale, I believe he was like literally like 28K. So we can see how much he's rebounded a little bit. He's like 41 now, but not a bad price for that card. Joe Torre, C tier. I would actually way rather run him than Adrian Beltre. I think they took some quirks away from him because I'm pretty sure when I really enjoyed him, when he had that like 70 overall or 70 power card that could play catcher like 2 years ago, yeah, like every single quirk in the game. I think he's only got like half of them now, but he's still a really solid card. Has a really nice swing every year anyway. Jackie Robinson, B tier. He's basically the second base version of George Brett. Nice swing, great contact, really good quirks. Just the power is going to troll you. It's going to show up. Kipnis, C, probably B tier because stats-wise, he's not that much different than Jackie. He's actually got better power than Jackie, if I'm not mistaken. And some people really enjoyed the swing early in the year, so I'll give him B tier. I would not be running him myself. Zobrist, S tier. This is an awesome card. I've seen some slander on him somehow. I have not had a card hit the ground running like this for me. The last one I can think of was Bernie Williams, the signature card. Before that, I can't think of another one that just seamlessly fit in my lineup and just hit the ground running the way that this Zobrist has. He is outstanding. I think he will be my second baseman for the rest of the year. And if we get like a finest Ketel Marte or something, then that's cool because he can play first base, he can play short, and I think he can play third. So he's got really good positional versatility. He should be a plus fielder at any position you want to put him at. He's got an awesome swing with every single quirk that you would want. So he's amazing. I love Zobrist. Chris Taylor. We're at 30 minutes. We gotta crank it up. CT's cool. C tier. I thought he would be better than what he is. Maybe B tier. Okay, he's not worse than Jackie. He's not worse than Jackie. So I'll give him B tier. I will say his swing is not as good as it has been. Traditionally, he has a nice high early leg kick that just makes him really good. This one does not necessarily have that. He's very good statistically, and he's got great utilities, light use, because that's what Chris Taylor is. He plays everywhere. And this card does that, and he plays everywhere at a pretty good level. I would say second base is probably the best spot for him, though. Murph. I absolutely love Daniel Murphy. I'm actually going to put him A tier. Not going to lie. His swing is outstanding, and stats-wise, he's pretty much perfect. So this is an amazing card, an awesome free card, right? I believe he's the program reward. I mean, when you look at this card, what a return for Daniel Murphy to MLB The Show. Real ones remember when he was like, I think he was the NL East reward one year. But you look at this card, 125, 120, 125, 125, 119 vision, one of the higher vision cards in the game if you care about that, 125 clutch. And the fielding isn't abysmal. You give him the P3, he will be a gold fielder at third or at second base. You'd probably rather DH him. He also has first and third. But I absolutely love Daniel Murphy. I think he's a really good card. One of the few cards that I feel comfortable hitting with lefty-lefty to at least some degree this year. Chase Utley, wherever Kipnis is, that's where he goes. It's been that way for the whole year, it seems like, and it's going to continue to be that way. Mookie, S tier. I did not get along super well with the live series one at the start of the year. But this one has been awesome when I've used him. When he's not getting scammed out of home runs, he's hitting absolute moonshots. He's playing pretty good defense at second. I actually would not play him in the outfield because he's really slow. But at second, he should be more or less decent. He's not going to be awesome. He's not going to be like Zobrist level or Jackie Robinson level, anything crazy like that. But he should be pretty good. And hitting wise, he is awesome. He's got really good power. He's got amazing quirks. And everything else is at least average, if not above average, for, you know, what you kind of want out of a 99 at this point in the year. Bryce Terang, A tier. He is kind of the antithesis of everything that Daniel Murphy is at second base. Murph is just basically a DH. You can plug him at the second base and he won't be terrible. Terang kind of does everything else. He's an awesome fielder. He's really fast. He runs the bases well. He's got pretty good contact. It's just the power's a little lackluster in comparison to like a Murphy. And he does not have the quirks that Murphy has. So it's kind of give and take. Neither of them are exactly perfect. But it just kind of depends on what your play style is. Rhino. Probably C tier at this point just because the power isn't great, but the longevity on this card is really good. If you are using this card, did use this card, you probably have him Superfractor by now, and if you do, he's a lot more usable. So super solid card there. Joe Morgan. Would not be running Joe Morgan. I wouldn't run Joe Morgan if he was the best second baseman in the game. He crowds the plate. I don't think he has an awesome swing in my opinion. Has really good quirks. And hitting wise, this is probably one of the better Joe Morgans we've ever gotten. But he can't field at all. He's absolutely terrible in the field. So second base isn't the most important position to have a good fielder at. But it's a position you don't want to have a bad fielder at, because there's been many times where my second baseman makes an error and that causes everything to start snowballing. Betos, the bulldozer, he's okay. Like his swing, he does a little too much. He's got a little Eric Davis in him. And this one's not the best fielder in the world either. He's like a gold fielder, so not my favorite card. I didn't really enjoy the multiplayer program one earlier in the year either. Cattell still hanging on to S tier. S tier still really good. It's just the fielding with this card. The fielding, and he's not awesome against lefties at this point. He's like 105 against lefties, which isn't bad, but it's probably not where you want to be. That being said, he's still a switch hitter. Still, in theory, plays decent defense, and he still has every single quirk in the game. So he's still awesome. It's just, I think Zobrist is actually better than him at this point. Biggio. C tier. He's just like a worse version of Chris Taylor and Jackie Robinson, so C tier. Soriano. B tier. It's just stats wise, he's not awesome. His swing has gotten better year over year, and they give him a lot of decent quirks. But stats wise, he's just not really hanging with a lot of these other guys, which is weird for a collection card, right? You would think he'd just be pretty much perfect. Ozzy, A tier. I've heard his defense is absolutely terrible. And the people that use him because they love the swing. I do not like his swing that much because it's a really obnoxious leg kick, like it's an over-the-top leg kick. He's also pretty short, so you get midget taxed a lot. People throw balls over his head, and you feel inclined to swing at him because that would just be a normal fastball to a lot of other batters. So I don't really love dealing with that. You can notice it with J-Ram, you notice it with Ozzy Albies, Joe Morgan, some players like that. So not my favorite thing in the world, and he doesn't have quirks. He has like absolutely no quirks, which is kind of crazy because traditionally he has pretty good quirks, but this year, for whatever reason, they decided not to give it to him. Bazana goes right in here with Utley and Kipnis, where he's been for pretty much the entire year. Bill Maz, probably B tier, which is crazy. This is probably the best Bill Mazeroski card we've ever had. He's still nowhere close to the top of the meta, I would say, because his swing's not that good. But you look at this card, he's awesome at second base. 125, 105, 125, 122, 111. Maxed out fielding. Like, the only thing that doesn't max out is his arm strength, and that doesn't really matter at second base. So, not a bad card, all in all. And now we are moving on to first base, which it looks like, yeah, our final position. So, we're actually wrapping up in decent time. Palmeiro, C tier. If I was going to run a lefty first baseman, he would not be one of the first 5 names to come to mind. Gil Hodges, B tier at this point. I would not be running him. And like similar to with Palmeiro, if I was going to run a righty, he would not be one of the first names that I would think of. Spencer Steer for a free card. This is an awesome card. Would I run him? No. But if you're just getting back onto the game after an extended break, if you're newer to the game, he's an awesome card to go get. Relatively easy program to do. Aegon, pretty solid. Not bad. He is a lefty, but the stats are really good. And similar to a lot of these other Home Run Derby X legends, he's got juiced quirks. So, Kadir. This is a sleeper. I gotta check his contact, because the only time I used him was offline against the CPU. So I'll have to actually check. 125, 107, 125, 100, 125 clutch. To me, he's almost like a slightly upgraded milestone Pete Alonso, where his swing is really awesome. I think he's like a 10, 15K card. I'm pretty sure he's a base round card out of that derby. Again, if you're a newer player onto the game, this can easily be your first baseman for a long time. Hank Aaron, I'm putting him A tier because while on paper, he is basically a perfect first baseman, other than the fact he might make an error, but a lot of first basemen do that. He's on paper, he's like perfect. 125, everything hitting, has every quirk in the game. The problem is he's a push hitter, so that opens up your outside timing windows, tightens up your inside timing windows, and just everybody I've seen using this card that I faced, he's been terrible against me. So I'm not going to rank the card that high. I also don't traditionally love Hank Aaron cards personally. So for me, he's A tier. In theory, he should be S tier, but I just don't see it. Same for kind of Swisher. I don't love the swing. Stats-wise, nothing wrong with him. And he's a switch hitter. Devers, not somebody I would be running personally, but C tier. He's always got his fan base. So Hank Greenberg, is he S tier? Yeah, I mean, he's S tier. Like, when you look at this card, Lord forbid you put some parallels on him. Like, he's kind of what Hank Aaron wants to be. 125, 125, 125, 120, 125. Gold fielder, decent speed, and he's not a push hitter. And I think his swing might actually be better than Hank Aaron's. If you enjoy the old-timey, like Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox type swings, he's got something similar to that going on. So really solid card. Some people enjoyed, I think he had a pre-order card and a XP boss, I want to say, earlier in the year. So if you enjoyed either of those, this one's awesome. It is kind of an exclusive card because it's a top-end collection, but still really good. Carlos Pena, dude, his swing is unreal. Like, he just never gets good cards. C tier, like, he's fine. I think he's like a 110 to 115 contact first baseman with like 125 power. I'm sure his clutch is either maxed or decently high. It's just there's a million lefty first basemen that you can do that with, and then there's a lot of switch hitting first basemen as well. To where just not really trying to run Carlos Pena. He's kind of like the first base version of Chase Utley, where really good, really underrated swing. If they would just give him a good card at a good time where there's not a ton of competition at his position, I think he'd be really good. I think a lot of people would come around on him. But Hosmer, D tier. I hated his swing. Doing his moment was torture. Did not enjoy that. Ryan Howard, another guy whose swing I do not like. I will give him C tier just because stats wise, he's not the worst card in the world, but not somebody I would be running. Genuinely, one of the cards where lefty lefty has felt just hopeless to me over the years with is Ryan Howard. So I just kind of have a predisposition towards him. McGuire, B tier. On paper, there's almost nothing wrong with him. I think his contact's a little low against righties, I want to say, at like 105. Everything else is maxed. It's just the swing. Like, the swing is just, ugh. It's not good. If by some miracle you enjoy it, I'm sure he's really good. Pete Alonso, B tier. Awesome card. Has some really good quirks. Has genuinely, I think, a top 10 righty swing in the entire game. And then the power's really good. The problem is, I think Kadire is just like a slightly upgraded version of that Pete. So, Charlie Condon, debated even including him on the list. He's D tier, he's whatever. It's a righty first baseman with a very mediocre swing. I would legitimately rather run Jeff Bagwell, which is crazy to say out loud. Nicholas, Mr. Kurtz. Probably just D tier. Like, the contact's not good. Some people freak out about the vision on this card. So if you're on Hall of Fame or higher, you probably want to at least put a little bit of stock into that. So not the most awesome card in the world there. Todd Helton, similar to Pena, one of the more slept on first baseman in the game every year. I think his swing is awesome. Another victim of, like, if SDS would just come out with a decent card of his at a time where competition wasn't as steep, I think a lot of people would be on the Todd Helton train. He just kind of always gets these end of the year Hall of Fame program, just random prime cards where it sucks. There's people already have first baseman they like, or there's perfect cards. Ortiz, A tier. I mean, the lefty of choice for a lot of people. I would not be running a lefty first baseman at this point. But David Ortiz, really good. I'm shocked I don't see him more with how many people ran, like, the breakout one, or I forget what it was. It was that one that came out with Messina at the start of the year. A lot of people love that card. Shocked a lot more people don't use this one. Jurickson Profar, he's up there. His swing's really good. His quirks aren't bad. His contact's pretty good. It's just the power. The power's kind of troll to where maybe you would rather run like a Swisher or somebody like that. For me, he plays on my team, but that's just because I love the swing. Delgado, very similar to David Ortiz. I need people to put some respect on Delgado's name. Always a really good card. My favorite Delgado ever was that Takashi one, where it was kind of overpriced if you did it, because it was like the first Takashi collection of the year. But he looked like Kanye West, and he's got low-key the best bat flip in the game. So it was a super fun card. I actually mashed with that card, so might have to give this Delgado some run, because he's always got a really good swing. The Berkey man, Lance Berkman, he's S tier. Really solid. Pretty much your best switch hitting first base option. There's nobody else really other than Swisher, and I would rather run Berkman than Swisher, I think. I don't love either of their swings. Maybe I do need to try out Swisher, but for me, I would give the bump to Lance Berkman. Lou Gehrig, S tier. You talk about perfect cards. This Lou Gehrig's pretty much perfect. You know, I think we all wish a little bit deep down that he was like a switch hitter, and they just did an off the wall card, but he's pretty much perfect other than the fact of you having to hit, like, I don't know, Maury Hahn, Billy Wagner away sliders with him for the game. Kind of sucks. But other than that, he's perfect. And then Rizzo, C tier, very good swing, more on the tier of like a Helton or like a Delgado, where it's genuinely a really good swing. It's just the stats aren't really holding up at this point in the year. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. That is our infielders tier list. If you want to go back over the list, link will be down in the description. Till next time.